So I hope you enjoyed that performance as much as I did. I hope everyone was able to see it okay. So also, before I invite my next guest, I forgot to mention, unfortunately, Helen White, Wright couldn't attend, but she sends her love and blessings to all. Helen White is a local artist in Aldean. She did a mural outside her garden wall. All depicting the whole story of Isabel's life, which is brilliant, and a little bit of the battle in Aldean of 1645. So I would like to invite my next guest, Gemma Nichols, who will be doing her rendition of Maddie Pryor's song, The Fabled Hair. So let me just unmute you.
Hello.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for attending this.
Oh, that's fine. My youngest did wake up 5 minutes ago, but
right.
So that was close. But yes, yeah, we're all good.
I must tell everyone, she is a mother, so if her child wakes up, she has to go. But fingers crossed, by all the bewitchment, they are. So thank you so much. When I saw you on Instagram and you did your rendition of Maddie Pryor's Fabled Hair, I loved it so much, and I thought I have to have you on the event.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really lovely.
Well, anyone that has a kind of affinity or a connection with Isobel, like I want to hear their thoughts and feelings, and if they can perform like as great as you can.
You're bigging it up now.
So take it away. I will mute myself.
Okay. Okay, so this, as Ash said, is from the very end of The Fabled Hair by Maddie Pryor, so which is very long, and definitely go and look for it. But this bit is a bit more my sort of style. It's a bit folky, and it comes right at the very end of that that entire journey of The Fabled Hair. So I will sing that for you now, and then I guess we'll have a little chat. Okay. I've been cursed, I've been despised as a witch with darkest powers. I shall go into a hair. I've been hunted, trapped and punished in these my darkest hours, with sorrow and such mickle care. I've been thrown into the fire, but I do not fear it. I shall go into a hair. It purifies and resurrects, and I can bear it with sorrow and such mickle care. I shall go into a hair with sorrow and such mickle care. I have outrun dogs and foxes, and I've dodged the tractor wheels. I shall go into a hair. I've survived your persecutions and your ever-changing fields, with sorrow and such mickle care. I will run and run forever where the wild fields are mine. I shall go into a hair. I'm a symbol of endurance running through the mists of time, with sorrow and such mickle care. With sorrow and such mickle care, I shall go into a hair. There you are.
Sorry, I'm still working out. I couldn't mute myself. Thank you so much. That was amazing, and you have a brilliant voice.
Thank you.
I wish I had as brilliant voice as that. I do occasionally sing to myself.
Oh, good. Everybody should.
In the shower and whatnot, as everyone else does.
Everybody sounds better in the shower as well, so you know. 100%.
So, yes. Thank you. I mean, like, Maddie Pryor is that, especially that song. And if anyone hasn't heard it, please do. It's called "The Fabled Hair" by Maddie Pryor. I will put it on the. I don't know why my chat isn't working properly. Hang on.
No.
Right. Sorry. So that what I was talking earlier. So "Hairspell" by Frey Heald, and what Gemma has song is Maddie Pryor, "Fabled Hair," and it's brilliant. If you haven't heard it, please do. I feel like the song itself, the full song, just sort of takes you on a journey. And I remember first hearing it and just closing my eyes, and you really envision yourself like as a hare, and with the lyrics like, I am running for my life and he's running for his dinner. Like, you really feel like you're the hare, like frantically running away from the hound. And it's very visionary. I have had many kind of visionary trance-like experiences through that song itself, and in connecting with Isobel herself. And that goes into what my question is like, so what are your thoughts on Isobel, like, and do you have any kind of connection with her, like, or any kind of experiences?
Oh, only a knowledge-based experience, nothing particularly spiritual for me or anything like that. I think it was sorry, I can't remember your last guest's name, which is really bad of me. But she said that you, or one of you said, you find so much about Pendle witches, and you can have Pendle witches coming out of your ears, but Isobel just doesn't feature an awful lot, and to the point where, however long I've been interested in folk magic, witchcraft, etc., it wasn't actually until the Boscastle Museum did a little installation in their kind of changeable gallery.
Yes,
did you go and see that?
Yes, I remember that. They did an expedition. I think it was called Betwixt and Between, and it was all focused around Isobel Gowdie. Sadly, I couldn't go down.
No, it's a long way, isn't it?
to see it, which I kicked myself. But I had so many things happening that year. It's unbelievable.
But it wasn't until they did that installation and I went, oh, who's this then? That's very interesting. And then I kind of thought no more about it for a little while, and then what was it, this time last year I was doing some research for an article on hare mythology and folklore, and that quote came up, that with the quote from the song, "So I shall go into a hare with sorrow and such mickle care," and one of the verses came up and I went, oh, what's that from? So obviously I went and found it. And since then, reading some of the confessions and reading various articles and things like that, although I always feel funny about calling them confessions in a way, because of how forced an awful lot of this stuff was. And actually, are they confessions? Is this anything that she really did, or is this just, I don't know, there's a danger of kind of romanticizing the whole thing, isn't there? Because when you've been in solitary confinement probably for 6 weeks, and it's just like, what more do they want me to say? You know what I mean? Like, what else? Right in the very first one, she's saying, yeah, absolutely, did a deal with the devil, I have confessed. And then it's like, it's almost like they want more, and then they want more. It's like, that wasn't enough, keep going, tell us more. And it's this real kind of tabloidish sort of relationship in a way.
And it's weird that it's weird that you say that about the confession, because I feel so, like, I feel passionately about that subject as well, because being brought up like Catholic, I think of confession of like you freely going to your minister and like confessing your ultimate like sins and stuff, whereas this is not the case. This is like, I think this should be called interrogation cases or interrogation
Yes.
documentation.
Yeah,
Interrogation
definitely.
documentation, because it, to me, to confess something is I mean, they say that, well, she freely came amongst the Kirk, and they said without torture, but we've got to think about what we think of torture today and what they think of torture back then. So to them, torture is like physical pain. Um, to them, sleep deprivation and poor conditions and interrogations is not torture. But
That's
today,
just how you treat a prisoner.
yeah, exactly. But we know
That's
today
fine.
our classifications on torture is very different and widespread. Like we know that emotional torture, mental torture, physical torture, there is many escapes, but to them, in their eyes, torture is literally like, inflicting pain. So when they say she came freely without torture, we've got to remember that she was also under forms of torture that we class today as interrogation, sleep deprivation, starvation, and constant, like, just like, what they would class as what would they class it in law now? I can't remember.
Duress.
No, when you're
No, like,
information to the witness. Oh, I can't remember.
oh, feeding, like, like leading questions, sort of.
Yes, leading
Yeah,
the witness.
yeah,
So and that is again in law now today is can be stopped straight away if a lawyer is leading the witness.
yeah.
But yeah, like it seems that, like, again, what I was saying to Gillian, they just more want to concentrate about what she's doing with the devil, but and not so much the charms, because you can see, like, in the confessions, they're like sort of it's a mishmash. So it's like, this is what I do to heal a child, this is what I did to lame a person, and they're like, you can see, although they're not putting their questions, and this is what I did in my book. No, it was by a great guy, a guy that did some great work in interpreting and translating into modern English the translations. And what he did was implant the questions that they didn't put in the confession. So it was like, what did you do with the devil? So it's kind of like they just don't want to know about the folk charms. But Isobel's like, kind of, maybe it's through her actor trying to fearmonger and to terrify people, or maybe it's a bit of her morality, but she's like, she wants to tell them, like, well, I did a charm for this and I did a charm for that and I turned into a hare. But they're more like, well, what did you
and
do?
then she gets sort of like redirected by the lawyer. They're like, oh, well, everybody kind of knows how to do that. We'll just talk about the devil and kissing his ass again. Like,
Look,
that's far more interesting.
Get back onto track here now. You're talking about things that everyone does here, like,
because
we
this
want
is
to
the
know
other
what you've
thing
done with the devil, like, what does it look like?
Witchcraft and things like that, what we kind of today would class as witchcraft, when you go around the museums, when you read the books, it is what I would call folk magic.
Yes.
And it's stuff that many people would have done. It's not so much, when people say, oh, well, this is witchcraft, people were doing witchcraft. Witchcraft then is very specifically a demonic thing. You can wave a herb and say a charm over somebody. That's not witchcraft. It may be a bit frowned on, it may be a bit like, oh, they're a bit dodgy, or but that isn't witchcraft. Witchcraft is the devil bit. So like you say, when she starts talking about all that, it's brilliant, because that's the bit that I'm thinking, that's real. She's talking about that because she knows what she's talking about.
I think people forget, like, back then, like, the distinction between, like, we call it folk magic, but what they would say was prayer or whatever,
exactly,
and charm or whatever. But it,
medicine, science.
It's folk magic now. But that, to them, like, everyone does folk magic. But witchcraft was more a demonic thing, something that was quite like what would class as a Satanist today. But also, with people with new ideas of the folk devil, it's brilliant, because now we're bringing into light of you know, what is the Christian devil and what is the devil to the you know, the layman or the common folk. And I really like that idea because, as we know, with the devil and even the imagery of the devil is inspired by, you know, pre-Christian imagery of Pan, and, you know, classical, yeah, like mostly through classical history of Pan and whatnot. And so, you know, I even like in Scotland, you know, the fairy folk are called wee devils, you know, like, wee devils. Um, and it's there's so much work. Again, with one of our guests today, Gemma Gary, has done extensive work into, you know, who the folk devil is and what is the biblical devil. And even like I make distinctions of like Lucifer and Satan because I think they're completely different beings. You know, like, you know, there was a Satan before Lucifer, and, you know, Lucifer was an angel, not a demonic being. You know, he's a fallen angel, but then it's all getting warped into people's interpretation of the Bible, and it's and I think it's great that there's so many great work, like writers out there now making distinctions and bringing to light all this confusion of the devil and witchcraft and folk magic, and it really is enlightening. And I think Isobel just kind of embeds all of that, like the folk magic,
I think so,
folklore,
because
the devil, like,
in a way, I guess the fact that she's not been so well known is probably beneficial, because there hasn't been that ability to create more than there really is. You know what I mean? There hasn't been this kind of huge mythology about her, not really well known, and you don't have to then get through that to actually look at things a bit more as we look at them now, where you try and go, okay, so we're going to look at this historic event, but actually we have to remember that their mindset, the way they saw the entire world, is vastly different. So we have to try and get into that mindset and not look at it from our point of view and say, oh, well, that probably meant that, that probably meant that. Well, no, because they would have seen the entire world was different. The devil was literally real, like not an idea. It was literally a real thing. Like nobody just vaguely believed it. It was all very real. And if you don't look at it from, and you can never do it completely, but if you don't try, you know, then you'll never quite understand, if you can understand, you know, ever really. But
and I suppose, like, to everyday life and to ministers in particular, like, it's a great fear, because it's like I always compare it to like how people are so scared of the Illuminati and stuff. It's that force, that society that's below ground that you don't know of, but you know that they're you've not seen it yourself, but you've heard stories. And it's like I always compare it to, like, you know, like how people see the Illuminati, because I hear so many people like, oh, the Illuminati, they're part of the government, they're corruption. And I suppose like the only thing I can compare it back to, because that fear of there is this underground society that could corrupt society, like that could corrupt the whole system, like in a night, and bring chaos and all things that, you know, Puritan or Presbyterian life was used to. And it's that great fear. And I think that's what starts hysteria. Like, it starts with someone's fear, and then, you know, someone else is getting scared of that person's fear, and it becomes like a vicious circle. And then there's a witch hunt, you know, then someone's named, and, you know, and they're responsible, and then through that person they're forced to mention other people, and it becomes
round and round it goes.
Fear ball that kind of tears the kind of community apart a little bit. And I think even when, you know, they've convicted the witches and they're dead and buried and gone, I think there probably would have been that fear of still, like, are they lurking about? Like, you know, is their spirit still here? Is the devil still present? Is he still trying to recruit other people? Like, and I always mostly when I'm walking my dog, like, I look upon the world and I'm like, I try and put myself in the mind of, you know, the 17th century person of that fear, and, you know, and as much as I'm a practitioner myself, and I very much believe in spirits, you know, we're talking about a world now where there is no skeptics. Like, everyone believes in magic, everyone believes in witchcraft. There's definitely spirits, because there's the, if you don't believe in the spirit, then you don't believe in the Holy Spirit. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a world that is full with magic and preternatural sort of experiences, and I try and put myself in that world, because now we have like so, and it's good in a way, there's religion, different forms of religion, skeptics, atheists, agnostics, spiritualists, and it's hard to like put yourself into like one society that has this shared religion, this shared by, like, you know, way of thinking. And I try as my best, my ability, to sort of put my mindset into that. And when I do, I'm like, God, like you're living in a state of fear every day. Like, you know, like if you're ill, like, who did that? Like,
it's very blamey. But then I guess
like,
in a way,
that?
then
Like,
humans haven't changed that much, have they?
oh.
We still get very blamey and very dramatic. But what you were saying just now about you know, there's so many skeptics now, and I've often kind of thought the only reason any kind of witchcraft practice is legal now is because the vast majority of people don't believe it anymore.
Yes.
That's the only reason. If, you know, sometimes people say, oh, one day it'll be proved by science that you can really do that. And I think, well, I hope not, because if science proves it, then people are going to go, hang on a minute, you can't do that, because you shouldn't be able to get a job by doing a spell. That's not okay, you know, and it will be illegal again like that. So like, never let scientists smear magic. Just don't.
No, and it's like I talk to this about my partner all the time, and like, he believes, like, he's not a practitioner, but he believes in energy, and he believes, you know, he doesn't believe in God as much. Like, he comes from the same sort of background of me, like forced Christianity down your neck. So we both have like this kind of when it comes to Christianity, but he believes in energy. He very much believes what I do. He's not a practitioner, and he's like science will prove this one day. They will prove it. And I'm like, well, I kind of think they don't, because then it takes that mystery away from it. It takes magic away from magic, and I think they won't, because I think magic has its own way of sort of covering its own tracks. You know, like when you do a spell, you know, it's not magical lights appearing. It's setting a you know, a chain of reactions and events that's within the natural world, but you've created that ripple effect. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I just kind of hope they don't.
I really hope they don't.
Like, I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, oh my God, like, you know,
everyone will be at it then. We'll never get anything done.
Like, everyone will just like put spells on each other all the time. And again, and then now we'll probably get a hysteria from a different direction, you know, like, you know, if it's proven, then everyone's going to want to do it right, and then everyone's going to be like constantly under like anxiety that someone's going to curse them.
Absolutely.
Like another hysteria, but in a kind of, not in a Christian way, but in a kind of like scientific way, like,
oh, I got suddenly sacked from my job. Who was that? Who did that? You know, like,
I don't know if I like, no, please, like, I pray they never like prove it. But my partner, like, he's like, they're gonna prove it one day, they're gonna prove it, and I'm like, I don't
after we're long gone then, hopefully.
I don't want them to prove it. But yes, thank you so much.
That's right, it's my pleasure.
And it's lovely to sort of talk to people and their thoughts and ideas, because some of it, like, I'm like, like, I've never thought of it this way, and it's just nice as well to have the similar mindset and the things that I've thought about witch trials and Isobel in herself. So and it's, thank you for coming on, like,
and thank you for holding it. It's great. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest.
Yes, well, there'll be more to this project, which I'll announce at the end. Right, so now I'm afraid I'm gonna have to mute you. I hate doing that. I feel like I'm silencing people here.
Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are Old Coast Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that heavy metal rendition. They did a song called Isobel, Queen of the Scottish Witches. And they did apologize that they had some technical difficulties with the sound and the recording. But I felt like the way it blurred in and out, like, kind of went really well. But if you want to sort of hear them live performances, you can go onto YouTube, type in Old Corpse Road, Isobel, Queen of the Scottish Witches, and you'll see them. Amazing performance. I love them. I came across them recently, and yeah, someone who is into punk and heavy metal and rock in general, and other genres as well, of course. But rock is my heart. I loved it. I loved it. So we can.
Hello, how you doing? I'm George. I go by the name of Cunning Folk. I make cunning folk music. Scottish Cunningways asked me to sing a few songs for this Isobel Gowdie fundraiser. I think it's a good cause. Many are of the opinion that there are no witches, but let them read Leviticus and they will find them in the time of Moses. And isn't that close enough? Close enough to take her away and hang her high at Tyburn come Monday. Witches, can you hear them calling out of the wilderness? Witches, can you hear them crying out for the love of the goddess? The devilish practice of woman, liaison with familiars, the charming of God's children, the hexing of her neighbours. Walk a wilder confession, see if she will linger. Look for the marks upon her, tell us what we want to know. Witches, can you hear them calling out of the wilderness? Witches, can you hear them crying out for the love of the goddess? What time it is? It's time enough. It's troubled times. It's troubled times. For witches. For witches. I see a trouble sign, Hawthorne in a house approaching. Come from my room to cut her down. It's so easy to overlook. I'll climb a ladder to revenge me for the souls you took. Right, so this is a song about the Pendle Witches and the Pendle Witch Trials. One Thomas Potts of Lancashire made an account of Pendle witchcraft at the assizes. A score was tried and found most guilty and hung by the neck until they died. Pitcher clay burnt in the fire, time for revenging in a mocking tower. It seems so strange that men and women would volunteer away their conning power. Maybe the Lord was staking his claim in Lancashire. It's God's country now. Demdike met Tib in Pendle Wood. She gave her soul, he gave her power. When she was taken, she missed the drop. She disappeared from prison. Maybe her ways won't welcome anymore. Lancashire, it's God's country now. Sour butts went with her mam and with her nan and with her auntie. After dark to the river bank, they saw familiars and ate and drank and boiled the bones to make an ointment so they could see, so they could fly. But she was coached by a man of the cloth. It was not true, it was a lie. Maybe the Lord was staking his claim in Lancashire. It's God's country, God's country, God's country now. Cheers.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed that performance as much as I did. I discovered cunning folk music a while back, and I'm a big fan of his. He actually got in touch. He actually got me in touch with his artist that did amazing illustration to his album, which I'm going to use in my next book. But that is another thing to talk about. I would like to invite my next guest. I am sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Hi, thank you so much for appearing on this fundraiser. Since I came across your music, it is beautiful. And even more so when you sent me the English translation. And yeah, it really tells her story and gives her justice. So I will give you the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Ash. Isobel Gowdie is my favorite historical witch. É uma bruxa poderosa e tem uma história muito significativa para nós. Pode falar.
Hi, my name is Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, and my English is okay, so I will try to tell you what he said.
Yeah. No, don't worry. I'm
É uma
dyslexic.
bruxa muito importante.
I'm dyslexic, so I spent the whole of my years trying to learn English because of my dyslexia. So I completely understand.
Thank you. And he says, Isobel.
Isobel
Isobel is a witch very important to
é um espírito poderoso.
To everyone. It's a spirit, superpower, and
Importante para o folclore das bruxas.
It's very important to folklore to the witches. And
E é uma honra poder celebrá-la neste evento.
It's an honor celebrating her in this event.
Vamos cantar para Isobel Gowdie. Como nos velhos tempos das bruxas há muito esquecidas, a Isobel Gowdie, a escocesa, de bruxaria acusada e presa. Essas são as confissões de uma bruxa acusada. Essas são as confissões. As confissões. Essas são as confissões de uma bruxa condenada. Eu vi a rainha das fadas comer o pão dos desejos e fui amante do diabo. Tornei-me uma gralha cinzenta, voei sobre as vossas casas, passei por suas janelas, entrei pelas portas fechadas. O julgamento então segue. Baixa a canção. Baixa pra internet não falhar. O julgamento então segue, com o júri ali espantado. Será que mesmo entre nós oculto estará o diabo? Essas são as aflições de uma bruxa condenada. Essas são as confissões de uma bruxa acusada. Eu vi a rainha das fadas comer o pão dos desejos e fui amante do diabo. Tornei-me uma gralha cinzenta, voei sobre as vossas casas, passei por suas janelas, entrei pelas portas fechadas, entrei pelas portas fechadas, entrei pelas portas fechadas, entrei pelas portas fechadas, entrei pelas portas fechadas. Obrigada. Happy celebration, Isobel Gowdie.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful. I will, for everyone, because I said I preferred to you to sing it in your mother's tongue, but for those that I will say in a kind of as a poetic way of the English's translation.
Thank you. Essa canção
This song
despertou em mim muitos sentimentos,
dispersed
muitas sensações.
a lot of sensations and feelings.
Poder recordar da presença, lembrar. Recording
The memories and the presence.
Da rainha das fadas,
The queen of the fairies,
do diabo,
of the devil,
de todas as bruxas
and all of the witches.
que se transformam em lebres na noite.
The transformations in
Eles.
rabbits in the night.
Se possível, Ash,
If it is possible, Ash,
eu gostaria que você lesse para as pessoas a tradução.
Giovanni would like that you read the translation of the song to all of them.
It would be my honor.
Seria a honra dele.
So here it goes. As one in the old times of so long and forgotten witches, Isobel Gowdie, the Scottish, invicted and arrested for witchcraft. These the confessions of the jured witch. These are the confessions of the condemned witch. I saw the queen of the fairies. I ate the bread of desires, and I was the devil's lover. I became the greyish jackdaw, and I flew for your houses, and I passed your windows, and I got through your locked doors. So judgment keeps on you. There the jury is so scared. Does it not between us would be hidden to the devil? I saw the queen of the fairies, and I ate the bread of desires, and I the devil's lover. I became the greyish jackdaw, and I flew into your houses. I passed over your windows, and I got through your locks.
Very good. Oh.
No, the honor is having you here. Thank you so much. When I heard your song, I came across your song in Instagram, just under the tag of Isobel Gowdie, and I saw your song. And although I didn't know the words, it hit me here in my heart. And I just knew, even though not hearing the words and not knowing the words, I felt this power within them.
O poder espiritual não conhece as fronteiras dos homens.
The power of the spirit doesn't know
Os limites dos homens.
the limited of the man.
Ele atravessa países,
He crossed all the countries,
mares, oceanos,
oceans,
montanhas
mountains,
e toca corações.
and hit the hearts.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ash.
And I give my love, my blessings, and my thanks to you.
Graças e obrigada.
Oh, thank you, Ash. Thank you, peoples. Thank you for a beautiful event. Eu me sinto muito emocionado, de verdade.
He feels very touched to
Wow.
be here.
Same.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm gonna cry.
E sente que vai chorar.
Oh, sim.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. Love and blessings. Mwah.
Blessings.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I actually feel a bit emotional. Like I said, when I first came across it on Instagram, just through the hashtag of Isobel, and it came across that song, and it just, there was just something in it that just hit me here. And when he sent me over the English translation, I just, yeah, it was just had such power and emotion for me. So I'm a little bit emotional. But in all ado, I will look at my next agenda because my memory is like a fish. Okay, so last but certainly not least, I would like to play the recording. Gary, Anna and Jane, the band